Vice President Mike Pence and several members of Congress are heading to Sutherland Springs, Texas tomorrow to meet with the grieving families after that mass shooting at the First Baptist Church there. Earlier today, I asked the Vice President what message he'll bring to those in need of consolation in the wake of this tragedy.
The goal is very simple tomorrow, and that is just to be there. As President Trump said, we'll never leave your side, and I just want to assure the families there that they have the support of the American people, they have the prayers of the American people.
What did you make of some on the left who mocked this idea of praying, or that prayers could or should be able to help people in this kind of situation or tragedy?
Well, Shannon, I'm a believer, and I believe in prayer. And I know that at this moment of such heartbreak and loss in that community, that what most Americans are most able to do is to pray for those families.
We had the opportunity to walk through the rotunda with you, where everyday folks from around America who were here visiting had a chance to shake your hand, and so many of them said to you, I heard them saying, that they were praying for you. What does that mean to you?
Well, I can tell you that the President and I hear that often, and they're the sweetest words we ever hear. It takes nothing away from our determination to get to the bottom of what happened, to understand the why, to determine whether or not there were errors along the way, particularly with regard to the reporting of this individual's background in the Air Force. But right now, I truly believe that covering those families in prayer is making a difference in their lives, and it'll continue to support those families in that community in the days ahead.
Mm-hmm. As you ramp up on tax reform, a lot of folks are saying it won't be the Democrats who stop you from getting this done. You weren't counting on their votes anyway. But are you surprised by some of the conservative criticism that's come your way? A number of Republican members speaking up, having serious objections to what they've seen so far, at least on the House side.
The President and I couldn't be more supportive of the overall framework that's reflected in the bill that's being considered in the House of Representatives this week, and the bill that's going to be introduced in the Senate. The President's goal, very simply, from the outset, has been threefold. We need to cut taxes for the middle class in this country. We need to cut taxes on businesses so that American companies can be more competitive and be able to bring dollars back to this country to create jobs here. And we need to simplify the tax code to lift the burden that this complex tax code places on everyday Americans. Those three principles are all reflected in the bill being considered in the House.
All right, so I'll read some of the critiques coming from the right and give you a chance to reply. They say that there's a hidden new tax bracket, that some people will actually pay more taxes. They're worried about the mortgage interest deduction going down. They're worried about the adoption tax credit potentially going away. These are things they say, they point to the middle class and say that's not going to benefit them.
Shannon, this really is a work in progress. But a lot of these other issues, homeowners deductions, state and local taxes, these are a subject of a very healthy debate in the Congress. We're going to continue to work in a way that makes sure that working families, middle-class Americans, benefit from this tax cut, and that we create the kind of framework for reform that will really cause this economy to take off even more than it has already.
Any scenario in which the individual mandate under Obamacare is included, a repeal of that is included in this tax package?
I know it's under active consideration, and you know the President's determination to repeal Obamacare. We came close. We passed it out of the House of Representatives this year and came very close in the Senate, not once but twice. We're determined to come back to that issue next year, but I think the President and I are both interested in seeing the House and Senate consider the possibility of repealing the individual mandate tax as a part of this tax reform bill.
You and the President, to a lot of people on the outside, would seem like you're very different personalities. You're very different people, but you seem to work well together. How would you describe your relationship? I'm
very fond of the President. We've become good friends. And I really admire his leadership. I mean, to see the President speak at a rally, to see him at an event, is to see the same leader I work with every day. A clear vision for the country, a boundless belief in the American people, a graciousness toward everyone that he encounters that always comes through, but the kind of broad-shouldered strength that the American people long to see in a president here at home and on the world stage.
And speaking of the world stage, I want to ask you about something you're very passionate about, which is the persecution of Christians around the world. And you have talked about this administration is taking different steps to really try to get in there and make a practical difference in helping these folks.
Well, we've seen a great tragedy unfolding in the Christian community across the wider Middle East. And the last administration flowed resources and support to rebuild those communities through the United Nations, and too often those simply never reach Christian communities. We'd see areas that were neglected. So President Trump made the decision that we're no longer going to fund reconstruction efforts through ineffective programs at the United Nations, that now the USAID is going to directly fund programs in the region to benefit religious minorities, and in some cases will be supporting religious organizations that are rebuilding churches and schools and neighborhoods.